Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, ma'am. Are you able to see your slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes. So, should we proceed?
Yes, ma'am. Please.
So, good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible to each one. Okay. So, today's session should be more, participative. It is on inclusive education, and I feel, it's a very important topic of relevance. And when you're talking about the NEP, the quality of education, inclusive education has to be looked into, and to be driven the best in the community, to understand how schools can be more inclusive, to understand what all features can be a part of the education system and how to make it more, quality education. Yes, next. Next. So today's session, as such the topic, if we talk about disabilities and other things, it will be very dry. So we'll do some participative, activities. So you can use the chat bots to share your opinion. The first one will be a self-reflective exercise. Okay, so you need not share your answers. If you want, you can. Otherwise, over the period of the session, you will find or discover the answers and then evaluate it for your own self. Next. Okay, so strongly disagree, okay, not sure, agree, and strongly agree. These are the choices. All students should be educated in a common regular classroom. Right? So I know you all have your answers. To strongly agree. All students with or without disabilities can improve academically because of inclusive education. Yes. Inclusive education is likely to have a positive effect on the social and emotional development of students without disabilities. Think for yourself. The needs of students with disabilities can be best served in a special and separate settings. Okay. Inclusive education programs provide different students with opportunities for mutual communication, thus promote students to understand and accept individual diversity. Children with severe disabilities should be educated in special or separate settings. Sometimes we teachers feel that, this type of disabilities cannot be handled in the common classroom environment. So we'll try to have a look on it. Special education teachers are trained to use different teaching methods to teach students with disabilities. Next. When we hear the word disability, okay, what all comes to our mind? Is it impairment, disability, handicap, special child, differently abled, children with special needs, challenged, Divyang? Next. Okay, before we move to the terms, we'll try to, just understand a few with this discussion. So there's one more activity. We'll discuss here itself. Yes, no, you can use your chat box. Disabilities occurred due to fate or trauma or signs of the parents. Is it our trauma? No, no. Yes. No, it's not our trauma. It's a myth. It's not a fate. Okay, disability could be because of many more reasons. Okay. Disability is a disease which can be cured by medical intervention. Yes, no. Okay, some disabilities may not be cured if it is about, like suppose if I talk about mental retardation, is it curable? Is mental retardation curable? Yeah, Reena, Banali, no. Mental retardation is not curable. Mental illness can be curable, but mental retardation cannot be curable. So all diseases of disability cannot be cured by medical intervention. Disability is infectious? No. So if it is not infectious, it could be inclusive in nature. The disability occurs in child due to factors during pregnancy or during delivery or after delivery. Okay, it can be after delivery, but what's the age limit for mental retardation? Age limit for mental retardation, Love Kumar writes 12, 5, 8 months. Okay, any more answers? 8. Mental retardation can come at any time before the age of 18, but beyond age of 18, it's not possible to have mental retardation. You can have depression, you can have mental illness, but mental retardation is before the age of 18. All the children with disability are disobedient. Yes, no, agree. Maybe not, right? Maybe not. So all children with disability may not be disobedient. They could not have, they may not have behavioral issues. Majority of disabilities lead to behavioral problems, true, but not all. The only solution to the problem of children with disability is to put them in residential school or hostel? No. Individual difference exists among children with disability? Individual differences? Yes, there will be individual differences. As it is amongst all children, so even for disabilities, there will be individual differences. A child with disability can learn better if paired with same age normal child. Yes, true. Next. The parents are key support when dealing with a child with disability in regular classroom. Yes, interventions with parents, discussion with parents will really help in managing the children in a better way. Mental retardation and mental illness, are they same? We had a short discussion. Yes. No, they are not same because mental illness could be any signs like late sleep, some phobias and all, and it may not be mental retardation. Mental illness can be, uttered at any time in a lifetime of a person's history, and it is curable. Learning disability is one of the disability covered under the Right of Persons and Disability Act 2016. Yes, yes. So you're right. Yes. Learning disability is covered. Autism is covered under the Rights of Person with Disability Act 2016. Autism. Not all cases of autism. Only autism when it's certified under mental retardation, it is covered under Rights of Persons with Disability Act. Not all types of autism. Universal Design for Learning provides planning and instructional support to cater diverse needs of learners. Yes, true. How many of you have gone through the Universal Design for Learning? It's a wonderful platform to have, the design of the framework to instructional framework to cater to all types of learners. CBSE permits to use facility of an adult prompter in examination to a candidate with cerebral palsy. Some of you are writing yes, but not in all cases. Yes, in some cases it can be given. When it is certified that, the prompt is required. CBSE gives facility in subject selection for the students with disabilities. Yes. Yes. So next, so wonderful, you will get to think on all those topics, what we have discussed just right now. As we, the World Health Organization has suggested some of the definitions. We'll be discussing on this. What is impairment? Yes, it's a loss, abnormality of psychological, could be psychological, could be physiological, or anatomical structure or function. And when this restriction or the lack restricts the person to perform in a normal range, which is expected, it leads to disability. Right? If it is just a loss, but not resulting to any, restricting the person to perform in the right way, or maybe you say the expected way, so it may not be a disability. So all impairments may not, be leading to disabilities. Third, handicap. If a person can, may be impaired, may be disabled, but can function to what is normally expected in a particular environment, can we call him handicapped? Right? No, we may not call him handicapped because he is able to function in the way it is expected from his age, from the social and the cultural factors. So in short, all disabilities may not be handicapped. People with disabilities may not be handicapped. And we as a supportive society can, do something to see that these children or this part of the society doesn't feel handicapped, and we can enable them to complete the normal functions which is expected from the society. Coming with this, CBSE, the NEP is talking about how to ensure that children with disabilities can be a part of the education system, can be a part of the assessment and the examination system, and can be even certified to proceed ahead in life. So we can train them, we can make them a part of our society, a more cultured society. So all disabilities may not be children with handicapped, right? So this depends upon our school, upon our conditions, upon the environment which we can provide to see that, children are supported and necessary arrangements are made so that, the handicapcy is less. Next. Okay, how many of you feel diagnosis should be there, not there? Should there be any sort of labeling for disabilities? Please use your chat box. Labeling, yes. Yes, so many of you have agreed to this. Yes, diagnosis is required. Labeling is required. Okay, so diagnosis is important because we need to understand where the problem is to support the problem. Even labeling in short terms for medical experts, it is required to understand what type of autism, what type of dyslexic, or what type of mental retardation is there, what type of behavioral issues are there, to understand those terms. But it is a discussion with the experts or with the team, but not to level the child or, to level the child. It is only for communication, for healthy building of the child. It should be a language which would be used between the experts. Next. So when you're talking about inclusive education, okay, we'll just like to discuss on what is exclusion, what is segregation, what is integration, and what is inclusion. Okay, next, we'll try to help you with a couple of pictures. Okay, the first one, the center may be a school with all children, those who are good enough to learn and study. Then you can find the set outside students who are not allowed to the school because of the various disabilities. Completely exclusion. Segregation, where you have separate type of schools for children who are physically challenged or maybe mentally challenged or disabled, children with special needs, and you have a school for children with proper learning abilities. Integration, where you have a school, okay, where children are allowed to come inside the school, but you have different arrangements for both of them. You have different classrooms or different environments to see that they are supported, but they may not be able to mix, or they may not be, having the same facilities what has been provided to the regular students. Inclusion, where there is a set which is a mixed set in the same learning environment, same facilities, trying to meet the requirements of each and every child, maybe child with special needs, or maybe the child with, or maybe a regular student who is capable enough to learn it. So you see here, so what is the most desired environment? Most desired? Inclusion. Is it possible? Or what are the challenges you feel? Inclusion? Are we all there for inclusion? Yes. Next. So if we are talking about inclusion, is it that just look at the slides, don't come to me, I'm not for you, that is segregation. Integration, you have seen, come, but you change, I won't. Okay, so many times it's that we allow them to come, but we are not ready to change. We are not ready to change our systems, processes to see how the learning can benefit them. You are ready, we are ready, we are forced with RTE Act, but we don't know how to change. Inclusion is where I change to respond, evolve. So inclusion may not be just allowing them to come to school, allowing them with a set of structures or systems, but allowing them to see that they are a part of the learning environment. Next. So this is very interesting. Okay, sometimes exclusion may not be deliberate, okay, but if the end result is same, you allow them to come to classrooms, okay, you allow them to be inside the school, but if the facilities or the other supportive learning environment doesn't meet the need of the child, it is as good as exclusion, right? So how to make the education system more inclusive is to support your team, to see how the art integrated learning, the universal design of learning, the lesson plans and other things can be more inclusive. The school can be more accessible. The technology can be more supportive to see that the children are, facilitated well in the inclusive system. Next. Yeah, true. It's difficult, it's challenging, but not impossible. Like Banna writes here that it is difficult. But yes, if we plan that it is possible, and we can drive, drive a measure towards it. So segregation is a deliberate separation with physical facilities or social structures intended for the use of one group, but not for the other. In the world of disabilities, this usually means group homes or separate schools. As we have seen, integration, again, we have understood. Inclusion, I know you are very clear that we are one, even though we are not the same. To make the child feel that we are the one, we are one society, we are one, but we may not be the same. So this learning has to go through and to be put through in all our actions, in all our deeds. Inclusive Education, Right of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016 has defined inclusive education as a system of education wherein students with or without disability learn together, and the system of teaching and learning is suitably adapted to meet the learning needs of different type of students with disabilities. So the learning needs have to be met by all type of students, by the different type of students with disabilities. We'll also try to understand what type of disabilities and how it has to be ensured that the learning happens. So this is not a choice, right? It's only a choice that how you can make inclusive, really inclusive, and make sure that each child who enters the campus benefits the most. Section 16 of chapter 3 defines the duties of educational institutes to provide inclusive education to children with disabilities. So with Right to Education, with the Disabilities Act 2016, schools cannot deny this right. But though we may not be, may not be denying this right, but then even suggesting other measures, suggesting other things may not be rightfully, desired. And how the schools can be more inclusive is currently the need. And it has to be like, when NEP is talking about a lot of things, I feel that this is the utmost requirement, that how schools can be more matured, how schools can be more, what do you say, can be a learning environment for the children with disabilities also. Am I audible? Because Sunita is writing, okay. So if those
Yes,
who are
ma'am,
saying
you
I'm
are
not
audible.
audible,
Yes,
okay,
you are
thank
audible.
you. Okay, thank you. Next slide, ma'am. Next slide, please. Okay, so you can just list some challenges which we face when we are trying to, ensure that children are in the same learning environment, or it's an inclusive system. Can we write some so that we can take care for discussion? Can we write some challenges for discussion? Okay, or else we'll be discussion over the course of time. Next slide, please. Okay. Communication, yes, that is a challenge. Because many times when you're trying to communicate and making instructions, children with disabilities or maybe slow learners are not ready to follow all those things. So what more can be done for them? So we'll do some case studies, show that, things are more clear. What are the various disabilities? Like locomotor, okay, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, visual impairment, even including low vision. Okay, you may not be like the child or the person may not be completely impaired visually, but even low vision is considered as a disability. Hearing impairment, intellectual disability, specific learning disabilities, autism spectrum disorder, mental illness, chronic neurological conditions, blood disorders, multiple disabilities, right? So these are not the only ones. There is a long list, but yes, some common disabilities which we have to encounter in our daily, learning environments. Some of are this, and those who want can do more research or maybe find out more about such problems. Next slide. Okay. Next slide. When we talk about, the inclusiveness, CBSE has supported really well to understand how, the examination systems can be liberal, how the general provisions could be more inclusive in nature, how, what type of, facilities can be included. And CBSE is even given the a special inclusive committee for plan, how the provision of special inclusion committee is planned, and special educators. So there are a lot of provisions which CBSE has brought in a lot of clarity regarding all those things. Next slide. Okay. When you're talking about academic provisions, candidates with disabilities as defined in the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016 have the option of studying one compulsory language against two, like Hindi, English, or maybe if there are two languages, the child can study only one language paper, because language is generally a more difficulty for children with disabilities. Besides one language, 4 of the subjects among the following groups can be offered. Like in the group 1 and group 2, medicine, this you can opt for 4 papers. But again, the combination from group 2 can be only one. Yes. Mathematics, science, social science, other language papers, music, painting, home science, commerce, and commerce like elements of bookkeeping, accountancy. So even see, you can find that music and painting are considered as the subjects. Home science. So I feel children can be supported, those who are good in music, because sometimes it is seen those who are mentally retarded may be very good in music or painting and other things. Or maybe sometimes, cooking. So science concepts can be taught through home science periods and other things. So how to make the subjects more friendly with them is something which the schools can look forward. And from this group 2, one of this can be selected, but from the group 2, if one is selected from the skill subject, then, we cannot offer the IT paper. If you see from the group 2, it is commerce, foundation of information technology, or introduction to computer technology. From one of these technology papers, one can be selected. And what is this NSQF? Definition of NSQF? I'm waiting for the definition of NSQF. National Skill Qualification. Okay, factor. So from the national skill subject, there are a lot of skill subjects except automobile technology. Students can even pick one from here. So from all the 3 groups, 4 subjects can be selected and can be offered to the student. So I feel the system is quite friendly, and these things are something not, just we are talking about, but can be implemented and can be done. Next slide, please. Permission to use even during the provisions of examinations. This I know we all are aware about. Stripe can be given to students with disabilities as defined in right of persons with disability act. Autistic children is permitted to use a scribe or adult prompter. Yes. Next slide. Additional time is given. Yes. Next slide. This all you are aware that visual prints for visual impaired, the prints are given, which is bigger in size. The font size are quite big, and large prints. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, next slide. So you can go through the SOPs. Because this is very important that the school will forward the application to the regional office on the submission of a request by the parent and producing his medical certificate. And even if the school rejects, the parent has the right to send a letter to the board, and the school the school will be conveyed and the things have to be taken care. Next step. Next slide. So universal design for learning is something which, teachers must go through the samples. This is put on the CBSE site also, a website. So please go through this, which is going to be really, really helpful for people, those who are planning to, have an inclusive system, which is more friendly and more beneficial to the students. Next slide. If you see the universal design for learning, it has to provide multiple means of representation, multiple means of action and expression, and multiple means of engagement. So all 3 things have to be met. how your presentation, how the expression, action can be like more communicative, more friendly, and more in action. Next slide. Next. So planning multiple level of instruction is the main purpose of the delivery. Next slide. If you see, the lesson plans can be broken up to mate for the highest for the level B and level A. We'll be just going through the objectives for you to understand like how the lesson plans can be catered to. If you see, by the end of the class, students will be able to plan a healthy meal and discuss changes in diet to improve health. When you're talking about nutrition and food. For level B, to plan their healthy meals. Okay. And the third one is only to identify foods for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the lowest. So the same lesson, the same learning to meet the level 3 levels, you can see, and the plan can be driven. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, next. Next. So if you see, the application part will also be in the same systematic manner to understand what the children can finally apply the knowledge for. Next slide. Okay, when you're talking about behavioral problems, okay, so you will find a list like what are the behavioral problems, okay, coming in sort before trying to rush. Okay, what are some of the behavioral problems? Is a child who is always sad can be called a behavioral problem? Child who doesn't respect, can it be a behavioral problem? People, please use the chat box. Yes, no. Okay. Child is always sad. May not be a behavioral problem because you cannot measure the sadness. You cannot observe the sadness. It's just sadness. It is just an interpretation that you feel that the child is sad. So here, when we talk about disabilities and medical problems or behavioral issues, we'll try to deal with problem which can be identified, which can be observed, and which can be measured. If things cannot be measured or cannot be identified, I think it cannot be included in our list of behavioral problems. Okay, next slide. When children are associated with, problem behaviors, we know that they try to do this for seeking the attention, or it may be a self-stimulation or a skill deficit because they are unable to do certain things, though, so they start with certain more problems. Right? If I'm not able to cope up with some learning, requirements in the class, the child may learn to disturb others. So that could be because of a skill deficit. The child is learning some behavioral problems to escape some work. If you have given the child to write something and is throwing away his notebooks, that could be a sort of a escape behavior. He doesn't want to write, and that's the reason he is trying to escape it. And the behavioral issues could be like throwing away the notebooks or tearing the pages and doing other things. Tangible factors. What would be something like tangible? Like a child is crying, or maybe raises top of his voice in the class, and the teacher goes pats him around and says, "Okay, dear, be quiet." So that is a reward or a recognition for the child, and maybe he will always look forward for attention or that reward or a pat on his back, and he may learn to shout or disturb the class. Okay, next. So because of attention, requirement of attention or self-stimulation, like he may be always rocking his body or sometimes nodding his head always. So these are like becoming the self-stimulation, okay, for a need to distract from certain things. Children develop such factors. Okay, next slide. What are some of the problem behaviors? Could be violent, could be disturbing others, could be music hurting others. Yes, damaging, self-damaging. Okay. So to identify any problem behavior, we must first understand why and what leads to this problem behavior. That is antecedent before the behavior. What is the type of behavior and what is the consequence? Yes, next slide. So this is the ABC model. So to understand how many times the child is doing, so you can have an event recording. Next slide. We try to take 1 or 2 examples. Okay. Suppose Vivek is using abusive words, or maybe take another one. Vikas is banging his head. Okay. So what is the before behavior? Could be anything. You have given the child to write something, okay, and he is not ready to complete his homework. He bangs his head. So now as a teacher, you may like him to stop banging his head, okay. 2 things. One is that you may ask him, okay, fine, don't do this homework, stop banging, you don't have to do this work, okay, you keep away his notebooks. The other thing is that, so after you have asked him not to bang his head and stopped him doing his homework, what he has learned. So the consequence was very pleasant, right? He did not want to do his homework, and that's the reason he started banging his head. Now, do you feel he will stop banging? No. This behavior is learned, that as soon as I don't want to do something, I have all the right to bang my head. So certain behaviors are learned. So to stop this type of behaviors is very important that the consequences should not be pleasant. The consequences have to be unpleasant. Try to meet the child, do the work, and maybe take time, do the work, okay, and the motivation or the reward has to only follow after he has completed his work, because the consequences should not be pleasant. Okay. So many times as teachers, with shortage of time, I feel we do the other thing around, like a child is not, suppose you have given him some number work and some puzzles around to complete, he starts throwing the puzzles. Okay. So as a teacher, you may just, okay, say, okay, stop doing it. Okay, don't throw it away, stop doing it. But again, the consequence is very pleasant. And the child, whenever he doesn't want to complete this puzzle, he may like to throw it away. But in spite of that, if you just ask the child to pick up all the puzzles, put it in the right place, try to complete, and then go for play or something else, I feel, the child will unlearn the negative behaviors. Yes, next slide. So we all have to make our schools accessible. You can see the ramp, the toilets, the physical infrastructure also has to be very friendly with children with disabilities. Next slide. So your communication board, need-based, disability-based, age-appropriate, and culturally appropriate. So we have to even make sure that our school communication can include all this. Next slide. So the way forward is to have inclusive education, admission of children with special needs, education assessment should include all those things. Okay, that how the assessment term to term, okay, year to year can be more friendly and can be more, subject oriented and need oriented with the students. So peer sensitization is very important because as they are a part of a society. We are one. Maybe we are all different, as all DNAs are different. No two DNA matches. So similarly, we have to teach our children to be sensitized enough to help and to support children with disabilities, and make sure that how children can help and grow with them. So use of assistive devices, technology. Today, technology is like a way forward and can be a part to support the inclusive education system. Taking help of experts, yes, we can make a good, a team where teachers, physiotherapists, psychologists, and speech therapists and other things can be a resource pool. I feel if schools come forward, we all schools can collaborate. And as Sahodaya is there, we all schools are there, we can always plan our resources and can plan to make all our schools more inclusive and more beneficial to this type of learners. Next slide. Okay, so before we come to the end of the session, any queries if you have can be entertained. And thank you. I think the session, if it is beneficial to you, stands, we can pick up some thoughts from the day and start implementing to make sure that how we can be a progressive society and an inclusive one. Any last minute questions, it can be taken. We have some time with us. It's only the time is planned so that, we can discuss and we can take forward. Or else I will try to put some questions for you, then planning to leave you early. Ma'am, is it right? It's 4 to 5?
Yes, ma'am. 4 to 5.
Okay. So, okay, tell me, please go back to the case studies, slide number, just 2 or 3 slides back. Yeah, the next slide. The next. Yeah, we'll try to use some of this because I think the problems are not coming, so we can stop and discuss here more. Okay. Tell me as a teacher, okay, there is a child who is always disturbing the moment you start teaching or maybe, start proceeding in the class. So how do you like to deal with it? It's not allowing you to proceed. He starts to talk or he starts to, make sounds while you proceed in your class. Give him responsibility, right? Feeling so irritating. Okay. Okay. So by asking him to explain, yeah. So you can make him a part. This is one good idea that you can bring him near to you or can be a part of the instruction because he's trying to be heard. Okay, so we have to understand why is he trying to disturb others, because maybe his intention is to be heard or he wants to say that, yes, I don't want the teacher to proceed. I'm there to proceed. So better bring him near to you, near the board. Okay. Now you can just take him around. Use him as one more resource that come, I'm explaining this. You have to repeat after me. Okay. That could be one case. Or you can ask him to draw something of what you are trying to talk about. Okay. I'm today discussing on mountains. Okay, I'm going to discuss on climate. Would you like to show the rain on the board or something like that? So he can be kept busy. And by that time, you can work with the other children. And this, some techniques, because you have to understand why is the child making sound. The moment you start understanding why is the child making sound, I feel will be, finding the clue out and be able to provide with the consequence so that the behavior is unlearned. Remember, there were cases when CBSE wanted us not to put our children out of the classroom. Okay, because when you're talking that send these children, those are disturbing out of the classroom, do you feel there's any benefit? Because maybe these children wanted to go out of the classroom, right? Wanted to be a part of maybe that noise outside the classroom. So, and the moment you ask them to go out of the classroom, they are more than happy. So these consequences may not benefit the child, and the unlearning to make a behavior unlearned, you have to follow with certain consequences which are not healthy, which are not good, or the child is not enjoying these consequences. Right. So make him do something which may not be very pleasant, but at the same time makes him learn that no, next time if I'm going to shout or disturb the class, my teacher is going to make me near the board or do something, okay, which I have to stop doing all those things because she's not going to entertain. So this type of analysis you can make as a team, that what type of problems, and each child will have a different solution. Same solutions will not fit each and every child. So even suppose if you find this solution A is not working, you can plan a next day something else with him, some other actions with him. Third action can be thought, but yes, certain things have to be thought which is not favorable for the child. Things which is enjoying, he will try to do again and again, even if you punish him 100 times, or maybe give the same solutions again and again. So make sure your solutions have to be very critical. I think it has to be something which your child has not thought of. Okay. Any other problems you'd like to discuss? Your attendance will be automatically taken, I think. Okay. So you don't have to fill in any attendance form here. You have registered, and your time will make sure that your attendance is marked. Yes, keep the plan B. Good. So you must have, you know your children, sit together, think as the subject teachers for the same section or for the same class, what type of behavioral issues you face. Because generally, when we don't entertain children much with disabilities, is not because of physical disability or because of some impairment. We feel that they are behavioral issues, and this becomes unmanageable during the course of plan which is to be delivered in the classrooms. And that's the reason most of the schools plan that we can't handle them, we can't tackle them. So we can tackle if we are more smarter, and I think that is the tracks. So disabilities are not a problem. The behavioral issues which are a part of the disabilities, because the children are ignored, they normally at times cannot perform like other children. They may be socially not that strong, they may not be physically strong. So sometimes these behavioral issues are linked with in major of the cases, the disabilities or behavioral issues are linked or aligned with their disabilities. Okay, because the child is not comfortable in carrying the task or doing things which normal other children can perform or do. And as a result, lot times behavioral issues are a part of the concern. And as teachers, I feel we can handle this, and we can use more brains, more innovative techniques, more creative ones, to make sure that the consequences are such that the behavior is unlearned. So this type of analysis can help you, I think, to complete the commonly handled problems, and with the child's name, so that child to child what happens, and then following and discussing the consequences to make sure that the bad behaviors or the not wanted behaviors are unlearned. Okay, next slide. Okay, yeah. Like when we have measured some skill deficits, okay, what would be like the skill deficits? Some which you have seen in classrooms, and you'll find a problem behavior aligned to the skill deficit. Here we have to map this and understand that how, because of a skill deficit, the child is leading to a problem behavior, and making sure that we enhance the skills, or we give attention to those skills, so that he is equally supported, and he unlearns the problem behaviors. Like suppose a child may be using some abusive language when suppose he's unable to perform a particular task. Okay, or disturbing his friends when he's not able to perform a task. So we can at the same time give him a task which he can do, or maybe teach him a task which is sufficiently good enough. Okay, and then slowly help him, so that his he feels supported and the problems are less. Escape, as we have seen many times, to escape a situation, you will find generally children trying to misbehave with others. Okay, and at the same time, if even we say them sit at home, or allow them to not be a part of a particular activity. Okay, let's take for example, you must have seen some children, pulling others at the time of play. Okay, and what we do as sports teachers or maybe other teachers, right? Just maybe we shout on them, don't push or don't pull, right? But may not be that is the only thing. Okay, he may be too much used to your sounds of that don't pull, don't push. Okay, I'll punish you. Okay, even if you don't use the word punish, maybe you say in other way around. Okay, so the best thing is that he is trying to push or pull because he is trying to be the number one or to be noticed or maybe to be a part of the active game. So you can always have a timeout for him that sit there for 5 minutes, you're not going to play. Okay, and then bring him around when he's ready. So he learns that pushing and pulling may not help because anyways, I had to face to sit there and watch these children for 5 minutes or 10 minutes around. And then only you involve him in a particular activity. So there could be many such situations which you have to deal with your own, say, your skills, your own thought process, and make sure that these factors which are associated with problem behavior are not supported, and the support whichever you are trying to give should be in a very well-framed manner only to help him build his skills, not for supporting his attention or steps. It could be like what you say, building his deficiencies. If he's already feeling that I cannot run and we are trying to make sure that he doesn't get a facility to run, may not be enough. So intangible benefits may not be teaching the children in the right way. Okay, and a lot of times he may be learning the wrong things, as we have seen in some examples. Okay, people, please give me one or two case studies which you feel, something which you are dealing in your classrooms and you feel, or some examples if you like to share. Any example? Ma'am, can we give them the audio if they want to share some examples?
No, ma'am, only chat.
Okay, only chat. Okay. Okay, any example or case you want to be discussing? Okay, hyperactivity. Hyperactive children, right? Sometimes we are really troubled with hyperactive children. How do you control them? Any answers on the chat box? Children always moving out from their chairs or benches and moving in the classroom. Okay, they're hyperactive. This is a disability. Okay, restless. So what can you do? Can we make a small zone for them? They study at the same time. They can, make something like tapping of the fingers on the rubber ball, which makes no noise. Okay, so you give them a rubber ball and, they can play around with one hand, show that you stop there. Their body movement is now customized to something. So you can custom their behaviors. Okay, you can provide certain support that in place of moving out from his seat, he's getting some kinesthetic movement and he's trying to play with the soft ball in his hand and trying to press it around. Give him word that is involved in that and can have learning by doing. Good enough. Okay, tell them stories, but it's a class time, so you may not stop and you have to proceed with your lesson plan, and that telling of stories may not be much feasible. Yes, but you can always include them in some role play and other things. Yeah, good enough. Okay. How do you control some antisocial behaviors? Antisocial like cheating, what you say, some amount of theft, some amount of blame games that he did this, I did not do this. Okay. Do you face this? Okay, give them assignment. So you may find some social, antisocial behaviors, right? So it's very important that good behaviors have to be learned, and they have to unlearn these things. So in these cases, it's very important that you understand why this child is doing all those things. And if any of this is there, like to escape certain things is doing all those things, what you say, trying to cheat during the examination paper, okay, and by deducting marks, can you help him? Suppose a child was found cheating during the examination time. Okay. He did not. Why was he cheating? Maybe he did not want to think and write, or maybe he did not want to study. But next time you take away his paper, did not allow him to write. No, this is the learning period, right? So taking away the paper, not allowing him to complete, is maybe he wanted to escape that paper. He did not want to write and finish. So it's okay if you take the paper away from him. But at the same time, if you can plan that he has to not only complete this paper, but even he has to complete some more additional sums, okay, because he was found cheating, I feel you can help him out, because this will make him understand that I cannot escape my work. I cannot escape this session. I cannot escape this, this exams. I have to write something more. I have to solve some more sums. So, this type of things you have to think. Okay, no one can achieve a goal good enough, but when children are specially disabled, okay, sometimes it's just an action they can understand. Okay, and where actions will be very, very important, and not our languages or maybe some type of advice may not work. So teachers, please make sure that the action is followed immediately and at the same time, so that the the wrong behavior is unlearned. Okay, so don't allow the child to escape that situation. Okay, even deducting the marks may not help actually, right? But why was he cheating? Because maybe he is not prepared. He doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to give a thought to himself. Okay. So it may not be the intention that to score good only he was cheating. He was trying to cheat. Okay. Any other, like fear, right? If a child is having some fear problems, phobia. Okay. So how can you help the child? So it could be a skill deficit, right? So in cases of phobia, so maybe you can give him some open book exams to help him out. Let him find the answers, let him write, okay? And then slowly build his confidence and take him to a further matured step. Okay. So this slide could be of more importance, because we know in our daily, regular school hours, we find a lot of challenges in terms to behavior, which is, behavior issues or concerns which we face, not only from children with special learning abilities, disabilities, even from children, those who are in the regular environment, and those who have no learning problems, and then they, because of the problems, we thought that they're the slow learners. So, okay. Any other questions from your side? So, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Nice. It was really great to see that you all were answering and you all were participating to keep me growing. And I was throughout the time happy to see the chatbots with lot of answers and continuously, putting your thoughts for me to make it somewhat participative. Otherwise, the online sessions generally I don't much enjoy, because it's one way around. But good that you all were answering and you all were participative. So thank you everyone, and thank you to Sahodaya for organizing such lovely programs, or learning sessions for each one of us. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.